All right, so we have a story about a poltergeist. Woo! Or maybe a witch. Woo! Or maybe just the Italian justice system doing a woman wrong. They've never done that before.
What?
What? All right, so we're going to boop a little bit, but not too far back. We are going back to the summer of July 1982. And we're going to start off in Aberdeen, Scotland, with a young 20-year-old Scottish lass named Carol Compton. She has been dating an Italian soldier named Marco. They've been dating for about 3 years. And so when he gets called back to Italy for service, they decide, hey, we have been dating long enough. Let's go together. So they get engaged. And so they both go to Italy. She needs a job, though, right? So she decides to become a nanny, which is a thing lots of young ladies, do at that time and still. She goes to work for a family named the Ricci's. No relation to Christina Ricci that I'm aware of, but she does seem to have a pretty good gig. It's basically her looking after a 2-year-old kid named Emmanuel at the Ricci Villa in the northern Italy town of Bolzano. And she's not even the only help there. There are 2 maids, also the kid's grandparents, and he's got like a mom. I think there's a dad, but he doesn't really come into the story that much. And the mom's like off shopping a lot. Also, by the way, I started researching this after I was watching the new Netflix documentary about the Vatican girl, and it's a stupid documentary. At first you're like, ooh, this theory, and then there's like 17,000 theories and none of them are real, and I don't know. Sometimes it's like the KGB is doing it, sometimes it's witches. So I was kind of mad at Italy when I wrote this, so I apologize if any of this stuff comes off irate to Italy. So anyways, Carol is at the villa, and one of the maids is coming back from the town's holiday festival, which you've never been to a holiday market in Europe. I said, drop everything and go this Christmas because they're amazing. So she comes back, and she's probably had a little bit of whatever Italians drink for Glühwein, and found the villa is on fire. And Carol is just standing outside, and she's holding a manual, and she's just staring at the fire.
That's concerning.
She's not calling anybody or warning anybody because there's people inside. She's just holding manual, staring at the fire. Yeah, that's not concerning at all. The family then, after this happens, they're just like, okay, that was a weird thing that happened. Let's go stay at some friend's house up the street. And the senora, who had been shopping in Paris, because that's what senoras who have villas do, comes back and comes with them. And then, like, while they're at their friend's house, 2 more fires started. And they're like, Carol, we're going to say arrivederci. And, so Carol, she may not have been that happy. And she may not have been that happy before she even got to Italy. So when she was in Aberdeen, like, she had a run of bad luck. And things just kind of like, things like that are electrical, they just would break around her. They just wouldn't work right. And she is now in northern Italy, so she's nowhere near Marco, or however she would say that in her Scottish accent because she's not Italian. She's crying every night and she's writing him letters, and these fires keep happening. So they're like, yeah, peace out, Carol, like, this is not a good fit. So it's kind of like that scene in Addams Family Values where they start going through the nannies until they get to Debbie. This is kind of what's happening here, except the reverse. So she goes into another family like within like a couple of days. So this family, though, is also on holiday, and they are at the house of that 3-year-old's grandparents, right? So again, a lot of family is there. Like, oh man, you guys are great. Like, you have all this help and you get a nanny. Fuck, man. Right? So she is there, and not even 2 days have gone by and a fire breaks out.
Okay.
This is getting a little sus, right?
Little sus.
And this time it's pretty bad because the baby was right by the fire. So they were like in a bedroom, and the baby toddler was on a bed. And so Carol had pushed a cot up next to it, so in case the baby rolled off, that it wouldn't roll on the floor and die. But so the cot is what caught fire, not the...
Those aren't particularly like things that combust typically.
And once again, Carol just kind of stood there and looked at it. The thought of like coming up and just seeing somebody staring at a fire, probably not great, not good. So the grandfather comes running in and he picks up the cot and he throws it out the window. I'm assuming onto some cobblestone street because it's Italy, right? So it probably like falls on somebody and they catch on fire. But we don't know what happens after the cot goes out the window, except that the grandmother basically chases Carol down to the basement screaming, "It was you! It was you!" And then the family called the cops.
Okay.
And Carol was arrested.
Okay.
And she was charged with arson and attempted murder. She sent a telegram to her parents that said, quote, "In jail, Livorno, Italy. Supposed to set fire to child's cot intending to kill her. Telephone Marco quickly." Can you imagine being her parents and getting that what the fuck telegram?
Quite a telegram to receive.
I would imagine there was like multiple back and forths of set caught to wait. She was trying to kill a baby, and then sadly for her, Marco is like, "I don't even answer, Carol," and he is out. He is out. Yeah, which is also kind of what an asshole. I did look that up in Italian. That's a stronzo. So he was a stronzo. There are many fun Italian curse words, highly in Italian phrases, most of which involve balls or sitting on dicks or dogs' dicks or other things. For a fun afternoon, go look up Italian curse words. They're great.
Noted.
So newspapers
expressive culture.
It is a very expressive culture. So newspapers all over the world start picking this up and they start reporting on it. The girl they called a witch because the Cecchini grandmother, she starts telling reporters that Carol has magical powers and is starting the fires with her mind.
Ooh. Okay.
Yep. So, and the judge says, "Oh, witch? But maybe she crazy." So he was hold bail until she's examined by a psychiatrist, which is not a good thing because basically that means you're stuck there until the Italian justice system decides to have psychiatrists. It's not good.
I mean,
it's
wild. Like they can hold you for as long as they
want,
regardless of what charges or anything. It's wild.
Right. And the lawyer that she's been assigned doesn't speak English very well. Her family is very not helpful, and her family does raise some money to get her a lawyer that speaks both Italian and I don't know if he spoke Scottish, but he was British. So I mean, so
that's closer.
Fuck you. The Ricci's though, they like after hearing about this, they're like, oh, she burned stuff too. She burned stuff too. So she gets charged with arson in Bolzano. And the parapsychology community started getting interested in this because it sounded like a poltergeist to them. And a lot of experts came forward and offered to help. Even the foremost authority on poltergeist phenomenon, Dr. Hans Binder, and he visited her.
That's a great name.
He is.
Especially for a poltergeist expert.
Oh, I'm going to do it, Diana. I texted her that I was going to attempt this name. So, Dr. Hans Binder, who was the world's foremost authority in poltergeist phenomena, was the founder of the Institute for Grazibieta der Psychologie und Psychohygiene. Nope, that's Italian. That is not German. Institute for Greg. I said I was going to. I do. Yeah, Institute for Grenzgenbiete der Psychologie und Psychohygiene, which basically is the Institute for Parapsychology that still exists in Germany. It's pretty cool. They do all sorts of stuff there. Yeah, they have like all sorts of like things about like what happens to your brain when you meditate, and then other things when they've been doing ghost investigations since the 60s, since Dr. Hans Binder, he started. So he goes to prison. He's like, "Carol, you're doing this through psychokinetic exteriorization." And she is like, "What the fuck is that?" Because I don't know those words. And he is like, "It means you got a poltergeist. You're psychic." And she's like, "Nope. No, thank you. They're already calling me a witch. I am not psychic. Get the fuck out of my cell." She's like, "I'm not feeding a poltergeist. I don't know what you're talking about."
is this like a Tamagotchi? Do I have to feed this motherfucker on a schedule? Is it gonna beep at me? Is it gonna die?
Oh man, your poor poltergeist.
Sorry, you said I'm not gonna feed this. Just where my brain went. I'm sorry.
So
It's like a pet.
Yeah. So finally, December of 1983, not 1983, big hair time still. Carol's trial in Elba finally starts in Livornia. But it's taken so long that Carol is out of money. So she's lost her lawyer that speaks English. And so also of note, they pointed out, which is kind of cool, the courthouse used to be a chapel. So it's like, we're trying this witch in this giant church.
Yeah. Not shocking.
Not shocking. Maybe also not a great look for Italy. And to make things,
I'm sure it was beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. But at the same time, we're like, we're trying a witch here. And even if we're not saying she's a witch, we're kind of saying she's a witch. And to really say that like right when like the trial's about to start and everything quiets down, all of a sudden the doors just like come open, and this little old Italian lady named Ciara Lobina comes, and she's like all in black, and she's got a crucifix.
Of course she does.
And she's just running towards Carol. Oh, no. And I would also like to point out that Carol at this point is in a cage, because what the fuck, Italy? What the actual fuck? Imagine like you're in a cage and this little tiny Italian grandmother is like running at you with a crucifix.
Oh my god!
Like, what drugs have I been smoking? Or I forgot what they said in this episode. Have I been smoking the drugs?
Smoking the drugs.
So she apparently, though, the little old lady gets taken out, and she told the press that she was just thought that Carol and her mom were possessed by an 18th century witch. And they're innocent and didn't realize it, and she just wanted to touch them to get rid of the Scottish. It was the Scottish witch too. So, but they both Carol and her mom and her mother were possessed. And right. I asked, like I said, when I was in Scotland, I asked those 18th century witches if they wanted to come with me. No, good to come here, but you're good enough to go in Carol?
Yeah.
The fuck, Carol man.
And Nanny.
The fuck, man. So
rude.
The judge does, so the little lady is taken out, and the judge does let Carol out of her cage and lets her sit at a table like a human being. Thank you, Judge. Wasn't that nice? And people testify against her, although none can say that they actually saw her start a fire, just that she was by them, right? But Signora Ricci comes and she wants to testify, and she has shit to say. So apparently her grandson told her that it burned when Carol touched him. It had burned, no. But also her maid had told her that the Scottish nanny had the devil inside of her, because religious paintings would just fall off the wall whenever she was near, and other shit, like she was just like a cat, like things were like falling off of tables every time like she walked by. And also the electric meter would just like spin around when she was there.
Your bill would be fucked.
Right? Can you imagine, like, my electric company, because of all the shit that's happened in Texas, started making me videos for when my electric bill is like higher or lower. I get this like weird robotic video that's like, Dear Waddell family household, your bill is higher. These are some of the reasons why it may be higher. And then it like goes through like air conditioning and like just all that shit. I just imagine like her getting that video. Like, your bill was higher. It may be because of Poltergeist.
Witchcraft.
Demonic powers. Satan. God, please send that out on Halloween. Come on, Pertinalis Electric Company. Counting on you.
I don't think they're going to do that.
So the fires themselves, a forensic expert came forward to testify about them, and he said that they were super weird, and that mattresses, like they only burned on the surface, and they both burned on the same spot, like at the different times, right? They're both on there, and the burn marks could have been caused by a hot iron, but not by a cigarette lighter or a match or any other kind of flames. And they burned down, which is not something fire does, right? And he said, in my 45 years experience of this kind of investigation, I have never seen such fires. They were created by an intense heat, but not a flame. And all of the fires moved downward rather than up. I have no explanation. Weird, right?
Yeah.
So they also called in the psychiatrist who interviewed her while she was in prison. And according to them, Carol they're kind of dicks. They're like, well, she's below average intelligence with an abnormal personality with psychopathic tendencies. And they said, Carol wanted to be in Rome with Marco, so she created the witchcraft atmosphere for her own amusement. And Dr. Bertuccine told the court, Carol has a naughty personality. We have no evidence that Carol is a pyromaniac. I'm very curious. I'm assuming they said that in Italian. So I'd like to know what the Italian... I did not look up what the Italian word for naughty was. But
I have to say pyromaniac, but yeah, that one too. Naughty.
Well, would pyromaniac just be pyromaniac, or would it be pyromaniaco?
I have no idea.
Sorry, Italy. All right. So in the end, the jury found Carol not guilty of murder, but guilty of 2 charges of arson and 1 of fire raising, whatever the fuck that is. Like, the fuck is fire raising? I don't know. She was given time served, and because she spent by this point, she had spent 501 days in prison.
Wow.
And they're like, okay, you can go. And
Just
so
go back to fucking Scotland and don't
go back to Scotland, don't come back. And the court did release a report about why they came to this verdict. And they said that Carol was suffering from pathological nostalgia. Whatever the fuck that is. Like, what the fuck? You just made that word up. You made those words up. Those are not things. That is not a thing. So... And they were just like, no, she started the fires because she wanted the families to leave their vacation home so she could go back to Rome so she could be with Marco. And they said that she started the fires with alcohol, and that's why you couldn't see there. That's why they did what they did. But they never proved that. They never did. That's what the court said. Weird, right? So Carol goes back home to Aberdeen, and even though Marco broke her heart, that's stronzo. She married a new guy. She married Jaruf Fazal, who had written to her in prison. So we had a love after lockup story.
Yeah.
We do.
Crossover.
And as of 2004, which is a while ago, but that's the last thing I saw about them, they were happily living in West Yorkshire with 3 children. She wrote a book about her experience called Superstition, the true story of the nanny they called a witch. And in 2001, it became a movie called Superstition. And that actually won a couple of film fest awards. So good for them.
Oh, yeah.
And there's the story of the Poltergeist, the witch. Sorry, Italy. So sorry. Please